Welcome to the Mom Owned and Operated Podcast, the podcast about moms and for moms, where we have candid conversations about running a business, raising a family, and remembering ourselves. I'm your host, Rita Suzanne, a single mom of four, digital strategist, and provider of no-nonsense business strategies and tactics. Hi, this is Rita Suzanne, and today I have my guest, Missy Livingston, with me. Missy, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to chat with you. Can you tell everyone all about you, your family, and your business?
Yes, thank you for having me. So I am Missy Livingston. I'm the owner and CEO of Twisted Wares. Let's see, I'm 49, which I cannot believe that I'm going to be 50 in January. I don't feel 50.
And you don't look it.
That's the Botox. I was like, I don't want it to move at all. Anyway. And I have 3 kids and a husband. I've been married for 25 years, to Pete. And I have 3 boys. One just went off to college. He's 18. One is 16 and 11 because we started late.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You just had a little break.
Just a little, it's funny. We always planned, we always said we wanted 4 because my husband has 4 siblings and it's just like the best Christmases ever. And I was like, oh, we need to have 4. Mm-hmm. And which I didn't even want kids before I met Pete. And then I met him and I was like, I want your babies. I want your babies. And just yours. And so we always thought we would have 4. So we actually did plan all of them. During the recession, when we lost everything, we were like, well, you won't be out of work for that long. Like this won't suck for that long. And we have a plan because we're getting older. We have to get pregnant now. So we actually did get pregnant during that time. And then the recession got worse. So he was out of work for 18 months. It was horrible. Had a baby while we were living with my parents. It was horrible. But I thought it was actually quite great to have a baby with the dad and stepmom at home. Like that was amazing for me. Not so much for my husband. No.
Yeah. Hard. Definitely.
It was
challenging.
So hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of business, tell us about Twisted Wares. Tell me exactly what is that about?
So we make, I like to say fun and functional gift products, mostly around housewares. So it all started when my littlest at the time, so new baby, finally found a job after we lost everything in the 2008-9 recession. So ended up moving back in with my parents in another state and starting over, and had a baby because that's awesome planning. It took him about 18 months to get another stable job, and that was in Texas. So after moving to Texas, we had no savings. I mean, it was just horrible. And the baby started walking about that time. So right around 12 months, every time he came in the kitchen, he would pull the towel down off of the oven after I just dried the dishes and put the towel on the oven. And I was already in the mode of with 3 kids at home, I need to do something on my own. I didn't want to go back into real estate because that burned me. And so I was already in the mindset of needing to do something. And I did know how to sew. I was trying to come up with things what could I sew and start Etsy, and Pinterest was very new to me then. And I was like, why don't they make a regular kitchen towel that stays put? Now, we all know grandma's old crochet top button, but that's just for a hand towel. I wanted the towel I just dried the dishes with that I actually use. Why doesn't that one stay put? And so it was out of that I came up with the hang tight towel loop and started sewing these straps onto the towels, and then started selling them to my neighbors and on Etsy. And then I started doing farmers markets, and it's just kind of grown from there. I realized this is a thing. People actually want this.
Right.
It was different. So that is how it all started. Now Twisted Wares makes all kinds of fun gift products. So towels are still our mainstay. We're definitely what we're known for, but we call them bitch bags, but they're cosmetic bags, cocktail napkins, oven mitts, kind of anything related to the home. I got into the cosmetic bags because I needed a really good cosmetic bag that was fully lined and that held a wet bathing suit. I only like to come up and actually sell and develop products that I would personally use. And I always try to make it fun because they have funny stuff on them, but really extra functional as a mom of 3.
Right.
It needs to be very functional.
I think that's the best way to come up with products anyways, is even services. Like I like to create services and offers that I would purchase, right? Like or courses that I do. This is how I learn. I'm not going to buy your $2,000 course. It's just not for me. It may be the most all-inclusive thing in the world, but it's just not how I learn. And so I'm not going to do that. And so I don't like to create courses that are that way. So I think that the way you're doing it is the best because that that's something that you would buy and that is needed, right? Because how often do you see a lined makeup bag that you can put a wet bathing suit into? Well, first of all, it'd have to be pretty large for me. So
right. No. I was just, you change your kids at the swimming pool. Like I change, something always happens. There's always just an accident of some sort. And I always have wet things with me. And I'm like, why isn't my makeup bag lined? Like, and I couldn't find one. I'm sure if I dug harder, but I'm like, wait, I already know how to manufacture things. Let's do this. And it's a good line extension. Lots of things go into how we decide on what products to expand our company with, but that was one of them. The main thing is, would I use it?
Right. Right. I mean, that makes it easier for you to sell it as well, right?
Correct.
Because people can understand the enthusiasm that you have for it, and your examples of how you would use it, I think would make it easier for you to sell.
Right.
So I love all of that. So what is something like, I know you said you started with real estate and to switch completely and go into product creation, like what is a lesson that you've learned into that? Because these are two very different things.
That's what I love telling like women that if you don't know anything, I knew nothing about sewn manufacturing, none. I knew how to sew a straight line on my sewing machine. But I'm like a dog on a bone to figure something out, but you figure it out in small increments. Like the first was just, okay, what does it take to make this towel stay put? Okay, I have to figure out how to fold it and then sew it right here. And, there's a lot of iterations there. Man, do I wish I would have saved some of those old ones that when I was practicing. So you figure that out. And then you get to like, well, where do I find this, this cloth in bulk? Like I was buying them initially. I was buying my towels at Joann's with a coupon.
And you were making them yourself, right?
And I was making,
on demand or anything?
No, not on demand. So I was making them myself. I would go to Joann's with a coupon and buy a 2-pack of the largest flour sack towels they have. And I would cut those into, each towel made 4. So each 2-pack made 8. And then I would add fabric to it and add my loop and go sell them at the farmer's market or put them on Etsy. And I was doing all of that myself. Then I was like, well, someone's making this for Joann's. This 2-pack. There's a name on it, but I've never. So I Googled and found the company that was supplying them to Joann's. And they said, sure, we'll sell you in bulk. And we can even flat pack them. And I was like, flat pack? What does that mean? Like, great. I don't have to unpackage it and waste plastic. And so that, you just kind of, then I had to buy 250. And I was like, what am I going to do with 250 of something? Then I started buying them by the pallet. And then I started learning about how to ship things by pallet. And maybe if I had it delivered to this address, it wasn't as expensive as delivering a pallet to my home, because there's an upcharge for that. All kinds of things. You kind of learn it in steps and you just keep asking other people about how they did it. You start learning learning from other businesses. I'm always a fan of just ask the question, expect a no, or expect not to be helped. But I think most people in the world want to help. They like helping people. So, and that's why I try to pass it on to other, for sure, women, but I'll answer any man's question too. I like that too. But, you got to pass it on, because I was given that freely and I want to give it back freely. There are certain things we don't talk about, no, I'm not going to, I took years to develop my sourcing. That's kind of like a no, we don't talk about source. I'm not going to give you my factory and things like that, but I'm going to tell you how to find a factory. Maybe you'll land on mine, but who knows?
Yeah. And I think that's better, because what works for you might not work for that person either. So, but I always tell people all the time, I could give somebody a roadmap to exactly how I do something, and they're going to switch it up about 15 different times or ways, because the way that might work for them is going to be completely different. But I think that a lot of people are afraid to ask someone else for help, or because also I think as women, it makes us feel like, oh, they're going to judge me if I ask them for help. Right.
Oh, yeah. I don't care. But maybe I think I've always been like that. I've also, my background is real estate. So in all degrees of real estate, I grew up with parents that were realtors and developers, to finance side of real estate. My husband is still in real estate. Actually, he's not anymore in real estate, but we owned a real estate appraisal company for a long time. I'm very comfortable talking numbers, and most people are not. But I'm the girl that I got in this car with this new friend, and I said, oh, I was looking, she's really young, and, or 19, and I said, when did you get this car? And she said, oh, I just got it. And I said, what was the mileage on it? How much did you pay? I don't expect, because I'd be like, I don't want to tell you, I think I overpaid or whatever.
Right.
Most people they're in such shock that you ask, they just answer it, but I'm looking for that exact car for my kid. So that's why I wanted to know, oh, okay, I'm not getting a bad deal on this one if I buy it or something, so it all works out. I just ask the questions, but I'm not offended when someone says that's too personal, or it's, my mom says, Missy, you're a little much, a lot. And I take that as a compliment. Even though I know my mom is being calm down, you're overwhelming to people. But so be it.
Well, you're not the only one. I've been described as too much, a lot. And I think it's just I just say what's on my mind, and and I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I just I'm just gonna ask or say or whatever. And a lot of people, I think they find us refreshing. They find
I think the biggest ideal date night for me is going somewhere where I can watch people. I am fascinated with people and how they interact with things and surroundings and other people. And I think that that's part of I'm just curious. I'm curious of your thinking behind that, or what made you come up with that, or what made you buy this car over another car. It's all the same to me. I'm fascinated with how people's minds work.
Yeah. And what influenced you to do this or be why are you like this?
Yeah. So I was raised in a Some people call it a cult. I'm not going to say it's a cult, but it was a very, very, very strict religion.
Mhm.
And my mom and sister are still in it. And I always say to my mom, this is why I'm funny. I'm funny because of how you raised me in that craziness. Like,
Mhm.
you have to have a sense of humor to come out of that.
Right, right. It's because of this that I am like that. And,
Yeah,
it's like, everything happens for a reason, or everyone is
right.
the way they are for a particular reason. So, what would you say was like a lesson that you took away? I don't want to say like your biggest mistake, but what was something that you learned that you probably could have avoided?
After, well, I have two stories. I have one for like just kind of as a kid, what I learned about business. And then I have another story of like my biggest lesson I learned with twisted wares. Which one do you
Okay.
want?
Let's do both. Let's
Okay.
start with the kid one, I guess.
Okay. So I grew up in Arizona and lived with my mom and stepdad. And I decided I wanted a lemonade stand. And we were on not a busy street, but there was definitely like traffic, and mom went and got all the stuff. I sat out there all day and I made $25. Like, this was the 80s. So I thought I was killing it with $25. I was so excited, came in, and my mom said, well, sit at the table and we'll go through your numbers. And I was like, okay, So she brings out her receipts for everything she spent, cups, sugar, lemons, the whole thing. And it was $28. So I owed her $3 after working all day and thinking I killed it.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did I owe her the $3, but she said, she literally took the money out of my hand and put it in her purse and then said, what are you going to do right now to pay me back $3? And I had to wash windows. I was devastated. It was horrible. And of course, I'm sure I was a tyrant. But she just said, you should know your numbers before you go into something. And that has been I know my numbers, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's a hard lesson to learn.
Oh, painful. Just a little side note. The next business, I've always been entrepreneurial. Like, if I couldn't buy something, like I wanted Guess overalls when I was a kid, and she was like, I'm not doing that. And so I'm like, that's fine. I found money easy to come to me. Like, I knew I could make it somehow. So, but now I had to know my numbers. So I decided that me and my girlfriend, Bonnie, my mom was going to make us clown outfits. And I made sure that before she sewed it, it was free. So she made us clown outfits, and we would go to the Sky Harbor Airport and greet people. This is when you could go to the gate, and people always waited for their friends at the gate. And so we would go up to the people waiting and say, we will meet your guest for a tip. And we made so much money every weekend dressed up as clowns that the airport ended up kicking us out for not having a business license. And we were like 14.
How cute, though.
But, I was like, okay, a service. We need to give a service and work for tips. So it was great because it was just like free money at 14. Like, anyway, I had the overalls pretty cool.
How creative, So, I mean, I love that.
It was great. So the biggest thing that happened after starting Twisted Wares, which could have really put me under if I didn't. So I had sold so much so quickly that I needed product. And I wasn't sewing all of them myself. I more had helpers sewing. Mm-hmm. And then so once the loop got sewn, then it would go to a screen printer and then back to my warehouse and folded and tagged and get ready to go out into stores. I needed to ease that process. So I contacted the people that make the towels for Joann's and said, here's what I'm doing. Can you help me? Like, what do you recommend? You're a big company. The guys were so great. It's two brothers that own the company. And he said, we manufacture these in India. We can do all of that for you in India. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. So I decided not to have the artwork done there and have it screen printed, but I was getting towels with the loop sewn. And I said, if you can send them with the loop sewn and send them directly to my screen printer, I mean, that is 2 weeks of work between, yes, we can do it. You need to buy 30,000 units. Oh my God. I was so excited that this was like the answer to everything for me. They arrived to the screen printer. I think they printed something like 5,000 at that point of the 30,000 that arrived. And I sent who I used to have to go pick up from the screen printer, bring it back to our warehouse so our staff could fold and tag and get them out for shipment. Well, in that, they got them back, started folding, and I walked in the back warehouse and I saw that we had a lot of rejects, like printed wrong, something on it. They were just wrong. Of course, that was like, why is this happening? What's happening? They're like, they arrived this way. I quickly drove to the other side of Dallas. It was so far away. And they were all wrong. Basically, I trusted someone else in that process of the business with no oversight. So there was no one, me, to go check those things. It sounds like now that I am saying it, it's like, it's such a dumb rookie mistake, right? But
you were in a pinch,
I was in a pinch
desperate.
And I thought you could just trust, and they, but they didn't know. They didn't really know. I didn't know what a spec sheet was. I didn't send them a spec sheet. I just kind of showed a picture of what I wanted. Well, who knew that there was 18 different variations of putting a loop on a towel? There was no specific. So they did what I asked, and what I asked was up in the air. So,
oh no.
And then I didn't.
So were they all done differently?
Oh, they were on different sides.
Wow.
The towel they made was, a lot of mistakes.
The quality wasn't there.
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
Right. They were outsourcing to some. Now I know, because I know who did it, and I know the factories in India now and all that. But they were outsourcing it to another factory who they just said, I just need this. Well, then they delivered the cheapest with no oversight, the cheapest of cheap.
Yeah.
It could have really put me down. They were really great about. I went back to them and said, this is not going to work. I'm 5,000 in. I cannot afford to lose any more. This will put me under. And they took them back, actually.
Wow.
And because
you had established a good relationship with them.
Correct. A very, very good relationship with them. And they knew that I was new. And it's a rookie mistake I won't do again. But developing those relationships is so key. And they always got paid on time. They knew I was serious about growing. So they ended up taking at least half back, and it ended up being a wash. I lost some money, but it wasn't
as bad as it could have been. Right.
Correct.
And that's something that I keep talking about lately is relationships, like creating, strong relationships, especially with, your vendors or, your collaborators, like partners, anybody else. I think that a lot of times for us, it's hard because we're so busy in our business, right? That establishing and building relationships can be a challenge. Plus we have children running around and all the things are just,
the 9,000 emails we get from all of the kids' teachers. I'm like, who has time to write these emails? I don't even have time to read them.
I know my kids come in and they ask me, they're like, oh, did you see this, that? No, I didn't. What's happening? Like, I have no idea. They know before I know. And then they come and ask me or tell me. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. Just remind me.
We found out today that, because I was like, how are you already out of lunch money on their account. And so I called the school and I was like, I don't know what this charge was. There's no way he spent this much on their lunch accounts. And she told me what they ate. Apparently they're just buying everything for their friends. And they're up. Who knew that the elementary school, or it's middle school now, has like Rice Krispie treats and tropical suns.
It's not me, guys.
Yeah. He spent $40 in 1 week.
Wow.
So he does not know we're going to have that conversation tonight, but yeah, we're allotting you $3.10, whatever the meal is,
Right. Plus one snack,
and not for your friends,
Right. Exactly. Like it's cool to be generous and everything, but you've taken it to the next level.
To the next level. Like, I guess, money grows on trees, I guess. It's just funny. It comes back to like oversight, right? If I had not looked at that, I would have just kept loading it.
Right.
And then we're like, what is happening?
Missy, he needs a know your numbers talk. I think
he's gonna know his numbers tonight. That's
exactly. So one thing that I always love to talk about is like, what are you doing for yourself, right? We talked a little bit about kids. We talked a little bit about family and a lot about business, but what are you doing just for you? We often just forget all about us when we start all these things.
I do. I like a good massage, but I'm still cheap. Like I don't book massages that often, but probably more than others. I do take little mini breaks, like, and justify that for sure. What I really enjoy doing, which I do at least once a quarter, we just sold our Airstream, but we used to have an Airstream and I would go out in it alone. Mm-hmm. I loved just traveling alone. I really love it. So even if it's like, I have something coming up in Austin, no one's invited. It's just me going to this event and it's a night in a hotel. It's just a minute to get away.
Listen, I have that every day in my bedroom by myself. Mm-hmm. And I just go in my room and I shut my door and I lock it and don't come in.
Yeah.
Leave me alone,
Yeah.
Because I need to decompress as much as I like being around people and, and even doing calls and getting on video and doing all this stuff. I have to decompress. I need to be by myself. And I think that that's so undervalued. People think that it is, I went and got my nails done or something like that. And, it can be as simple as taking a walk around the block by yourself.
Yeah. I joke about it, but I just want to watch TV with no commentary.
My ex-husband used to do that to me. I tried. So we watched the Game of Thrones together, right?
Yeah.
And I swear I would say, shut up so many times. Like I would completely just lose. We'd have to rewind. We'd have to, I'm like, I can't do this with you.
Well, Gavin, he's 11. He came down and started asking about some show we were watching. And I paused it and I said, you guys know that, Dad asked me the same. We are watching the same show. I have not watched it before you to figure it out. But we don't have to talk about it till after the show.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
It's just
I can't
funny.
answer if I stop to answer your question, I'm going to miss something. So please.
Right. And it's not that I hate them doing it. Like, it's more like, this is why I appreciate just being alone and watching what I want to watch on my own in silence.
Yes. I need a little bit of time by myself and just let me appreciate the things that I like as a person, not a mom, not a business owner, just myself.
Yeah. I just want to turn off my brain for a minute and,
That's what I am on the weekends. Like my kids go to their dads on the weekends. And so, one time we had taken a trip and all the kids were with me and we were having fun. And my kids said to me, like, we've never seen you like that. I'm like, oh, well, this is how I am when I'm not in mom and business mode.
Right.
It's like we have these different personas for the different roles in our lives, right?
Right.
And so that's why I always say like that we forget ourselves a lot of times. Because if you're consistently in that role of mom or business,
Right.
then it's easy to forget the self, right? And a lot of times, even when I was working in corporate, I felt like a different person,
Right.
because I was trying to adhere to what they wanted me to be.
Right.
And that is definitely not who I was or am. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. It's always something, but one last question. And if a mom came to you and she wanted to start her own business, so what would be some advice you might give her?
It's funny. Someone came, my office is like in a WeWork space, like that kind of building, but
Mhm.
anyway, another woman knows that I run my company and asked me that she had an idea to do something. And my biggest advice is just start. Don't make it complicated. No, don't go running and get a license and develop a logo. No, because that's the fun stuff, right? To say you're like, oh, I started a business and I did all the same stuff, but none of that matters. What matters is, does your product sell?
Mhm.
Test it out. Get it to where, does it sell? Do people want it? Now,
Right.
I had
Start
to do
small,
that.
right?
Start small and just start. If I could show you what my stuff looked like when I started the business, I'm embarrassed by, like, oh my God, I can't believe I sewed that and actually put it out on display for people to buy. Woo.
But
But
people were buying it.
they were
So,
buying it. They were still buying it. And so just start. Don't make it complicated. Can you sell 5? And then get feedback from those 5. Can you sell 10? What is their feedback? In the beginning, it's all about the feedback. And then would you buy more? Would you buy more if the price was different? Would you buy more if it was larger, smaller, different color, things like that? All of that is how I grew, because I want to know all the answers to these things. But when I started, my product looked so much different, didn't have words on it, anything. And from that feedback, I don't know if you want to call it feedback. She asked for red towels, a set of red. I came to the flea market the next month. I had red. And she said, oh, it's not brick red.
oh,
Well, I had no idea. Dumb me. I mean, I take I should have said what color red.
specifically red,
But
right?
I was so mad and so angry because now she didn't buy them. Now I'm stuck with 12 red things. She's
Right.
buying them for a bunko group. And I went in the back and literally Googled how to print words on towel and went to Joann's with my coupon again, bought some transfer paper and put the words fuck 'em. Can I cuss on here? Sorry.
Yeah.
Put the word fuck 'em on those red towels and brought them back the next day and put them up for sale. And they sold immediately.
I love that.
But so it's like from that feedback, even though bad,
Hmm.
where my brand came, because yes, they already were buying and buying again and again, but now a lot more people are buying. So I'm on to something here. And then I started putting more art on the towels and more words on the towels. And I quickly got rid of all the other ones, only brought that. And now I had a thing.
Yeah.
It was like I was making enough to keep going, but something had to change to go into wholesale and really make it grow. I needed
Yeah.
to see if I had a bigger audience. So the feedback, even if it's good or bad, it's all good feedback.
Right. Well, I feel like that with anything in life, like everything is for your betterment, right? It's like
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad, you should look for the lesson.
I know. It's so hard.
It's super hard, but taking that advice as you will, because as challenging it can be, you just have to figure out, okay, what was I supposed to learn in this? What am I supposed to do with this in order to move forward? Okay. So where can everyone find you online, Missy?
So you can find me at twistedwares.com, spelled like housewares. So twisted and then wares, wares.com. And then I want to give a discount code.
Sure.
So I want to give a code for 20% off. And I will set it up as soon as I am off this call with you.
Okay. And I'll put it in the show notes. They can find it there.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to do, can we make it just so generic?
Sure.
Podcast 822
Okay.
will be the code for 20% off.
Perfect.
Yeah, and we'll do 20% off the whole site. So even the sales stuff. And yeah, that's I usually only do 20% on Black Friday. So I'm excited.
Yay.
Yeah.
All right. You guys go visit Missy and check out her stuff. And it's been, are you on social? Can they find you anywhere?
Oh, yeah.
Online?
So we're on Facebook, we're Twisted Wares Home. On Instagram, it's just at Twisted Wares. And we are Twisted Wares on Twitter, Pinterest. I love Pinterest. Anyway, we have a Pinterest board. I love it when we get followed and all that on Pinterest. I like just putting funny stuff on there. And I do have a TikTok, even though I'm not very regular about it, but I find it fun. I don't know. And TikTok is Missy Livingston official.
I love it. I love TikTok. I've learned so many things just from TikTok.
I know. So that's why I'm like, how can I be of service back? I want to help other women I love how much I've learned on TikTok. So I try to give value there. Like, oh, this is what I like. While we were talking, I was like, oh, I'm going to make a TikTok about that. So.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Yes, so good. Thank you so much for having me.
And there you have it. I want to encourage you to remember that being a mom who runs her own business is not easy. We all struggle, but just keep moving forward and don't forget to make time for yourself. As moms, we are usually the first thing to go to the bottom of the list. If your business is overwhelming you and you need real solutions, not just some sugar-coated suggestions, apply to work with me at ritasuzanne.com/apply.